name is Regina Murphy and I'm 29. This happened in May 2023, and I'm telling it now because the strangest part isn't that he left me at the altar. It's how efficiently he did it, like deleting a file he no longer needed. A friend told me I should post this online because apparently when your life implodes in public, people decide it's community entertainment. So, all right, Reddit, buckle up. On paper, my life was boring in the best way. I'm a civil engineer at a regional firm in Colorado, the kind of job where the math doesn't care about your feelings and water flows where gravity tells it to. I got my degree from Colorado State, moved to Denver after graduation, and spent 7 years building something stable. I owned a modest house in Aurora, drove a paid-off 2016 F-150, and kept my weekends predictable. Saturdays for home improvement, Sundays for mountain biking. My life wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Calm, earned. And after dating men who treated commitment like a hobby, calm felt like winning the lottery. Then I met Owen Caldwell at a friend's wedding in the summer of 2020. He was a groomsman. I was in the wedding party too, smiling in photos, pretending I wasn't dying in heels on grass. Owen had dark hair, warm eyes, and this easy laugh that made you feel like you'd known him longer than you had. He worked in consulting then, but he talked about it like it was just work, not a personality. We hit it off at the reception. No fireworks, no cheesy fate speeches. Just an effortless kind of conversation that made the room around us blur. Our first date was Mount Falcon. 4 hours of walking and talking about the things people usually save until it's safe. Family, career goals, what we wanted in 5 years. Owen said he wanted marriage, kids, a house with a garage that smelled like sawdust and weekend projects. I remember thinking, finally, someone who wants a real life, not an Instagram relationship. By month 3, he was practically living at my place. The toothbrush appeared, then the hoodie, then the casual we language that sneaks into your sentences before you notice it's there. His parents loved me immediately. His dad, Richard, was semi-retired, an accountant who built furniture like it was therapy. The first time I met him, he asked what kind of wood my kitchen cabinets were, and 2 days later, he was in my garage teaching me how to refinish them properly. His mom, Patricia, treated me like I'd been family for years. She sent me home with leftovers and advice in equal measure, the kind of warmth that makes you relax your shoulders without realizing you've been tense your whole life. They'd look at Owen and say things like, "Don't mess this up." And I genuinely loved them. I still do, which is part of what made everything feel so unreal. By spring 2022, I knew I wanted to marry him, not in some dizzy soulmate way, but in a quiet, grounded way that felt trustworthy. So I did what I always do when I'm sure. I planned. I spent $8,200 on a ring. Platinum. A 1.2 carat center stone. Custom designed to match a Pinterest board Owen didn't know I'd found. I proposed in October 2022 at sunset at our favorite overlook. He actually cried, and said yes. Patricia screamed when we called her. Richard went quiet, then said, "Good. About time." We started wedding planning immediately because Owen had this vision of a flawless day, and honestly, I did too. Not because I cared about the party, because I cared about the promise, the public, "this is my person" moment. We set the date, May 20th, 2023. Everything got booked fast. Venue in the foothills, photographer, DJ, flowers, catering. A timeline so detailed it could have launched a satellite. It felt like our future was on rails. Stable, predictable, safe. Then, about 6 weeks before the wedding, something shifted. At first it was small, Owen checking his phone a little too often, smiling at messages he didn't share, coming home later with vague excuses, work stuff, and old friend stuff, and just catching up. I told myself I was being paranoid, because stable people do that. We assume stability means safety. Then he mentioned her, Camila Reyes, his high school ex-girlfriend. They dated in high school and freshman year of college before she moved away. He said it casually while we were addressing invitations, like it wasn't a live wire. "Camila's back in Denver," he said. "We should invite her since we're inviting your old college group." My pen froze, just for a second. My gut tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Pay attention." But I didn't want to be the insecure fiancé. I didn't want to be the woman who starts a fight over someone from the past. So I forced a smile and said, "Sure, if you want." That was the first time I betrayed myself. Coffee with Camilla turned into regular meetups, then lunches, then helping her get settled. Owen started texting constantly with this private smile that made me feel like I was watching him through glass. And then he stopped touching me. Not dramatically, not with a big talk, just a retreat. Like he was slowly moving his chair farther from the table while insisting everything was fine. When I hugged him, he flinched, like my arms were a question he didn't want to answer. 3 weeks before the wedding, he finally said the sentence that still makes my jaw lock. "Do you ever wonder if we're doing this for the right reasons?" I laughed, because it sounded ridiculous. "What do you mean?" He stared at the counter like it held the truth. Like, are we getting married because we can't imagine life without each other? Or because it would be embarrassing to stop now? My chest went hot. Where is this coming from? He hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything before he even spoke. Camilla said, "People settle for security when they're afraid to chase passion." Oh, so that's what this was. His ex-girlfriend was whispering passion in his ear like it was religion, and he was letting her preach. I told him his high school ex-girlfriend wasn't qualified to diagnose our relationship 3 weeks before our wedding. He called me controlling. I said he was emotionally cheating. We didn't speak for 2 days. When he finally came back, he apologized, said he was stressed, said everything would be fine after the wedding. And because I wanted my life to stay a straight line, I believed him. The rehearsal dinner was Friday night. 40 people, both families, wedding party, speeches about how perfect we were together. Owen barely touched his food, checked his phone under the table like a teenager. That night, back at my house, he was quiet in the car. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah," he said, "just tired. Big day tomorrow." His phone buzzed on the nightstand while he was in the bathroom. I looked. I shouldn't have, I know. But something in me, something exhausted from being polite, needed reality. Text from Camilla. "Are you sure you're ready for this? You don't have to go through with something that doesn't feel right." I meant what I said. I never stopped loving you. I set the phone back exactly where it was, like returning a weapon to a drawer. When Owen got into bed, he turned away from me. "Good night," he murmured. "Big day tomorrow." I barely slept. Saturday morning, Owen left early to get ready with his groomsmen at the venue. Kissed me on the cheek like I was a relative. Told me he loved me. I wanted to grab his face and make him look me in the eye. I didn't. By 2:55 p.m., the ceremony music started. Guests were seated. The coordinator checked her clipboard. My bridesmaids lined up. I took a breath and told myself, this is it. This is real. He's just nervous. But the doors didn't open when they were supposed to. 1 minute passed. Then 2. The music kept playing, confused, like it didn't know how to stop being hopeful. Whispers started outside, a shift in the air. My bridesmaids traded looks. Then the coordinator came into the suite, face pale, like she'd seen a ghost, and needed me to pretend she hadn't. She held out a small yellow post-it note. Her hand was shaking. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. I took it. Owen's handwriting. 2 sentences, sharp as glass. "I can't do this. Camila and I are leaving together. She's my true love. I can't marry you knowing that. I'm sorry. Please tell everyone I'm sorry." A post-it note at my wedding, in front of 150 guests waiting for me to walk down the aisle. I read it twice because denial makes you reread reality like it might change. My throat went dry. My fingers went cold around the paper. And the worst part wasn't even the words. It was the quiet certainty that hit me all at once. He hadn't panicked. He'd planned. Because you don't write something that neat in the middle of a breakdown. You write it after rehearsing it. Outside the door, the murmurs grew louder. People were starting to wonder where I was, where the bride was, why the ceremony had stalled. I folded the note slowly, slid it into my bouquet like it belonged there, and felt something in me go very still. Not peace, a door closing. And as the music faltered, still trying to pretend everything was normal, I realized the cruelest thing he'd done wasn't leaving. It was leaving me to do the explaining. I didn't walk down the aisle. I walked out a side door, past a startled intern holding programs, past a mirror where I barely recognized the woman in white staring back at me, and into the cold Colorado air. I didn't cry. Not because I was strong, because my brain hadn't caught up to my body yet. I sat in my truck for a full minute with the engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel like it was the only solid thing left in my life. My phone buzzed immediately, then again, and again. I turned it face down. Everyone expects the dramatic moment, the sobbing bride, the scream, the collapse. That wasn't me. I folded the post-it note carefully, like it was evidence, put it in my clutch, and drove home. At the venue, I later learned, the coordinator went into crisis mode. Guests whispered. Owen's parents looked like they'd been physically struck. My parents, who had flown in 2 days earlier, were trying not to commit a felony. But I wasn't there for any of it. I got home, stepped out of my dress like it was someone else's skin, pulled on jeans and a hoodie, packed a duffel bag, and left again within 30 minutes. I drove straight to my friend Jackson's cabin near Breckenridge. No phone calls, no explanations, just a single text to my maid of honor. I'm safe. I need a few days. Tell people I'm fine. Then I turned my phone off and disappeared. The cabin was basic. 2 rooms, propane heat, no Wi-Fi, no cell service unless you stood in one very specific spot on the deck and held your phone toward the sky like an offering. It was perfect. For 4 days, I existed without an audience. I chopped wood, went on long hikes, sat on the deck watching the sun sink behind the mountains like it had nothing better to do than keep moving forward. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just processed. The woman I'd planned to marry had vanished at the altar for his high school ex-girlfriend, with a post-it note. By day 3, clarity started to set in. Owen had done me a favor. A brutal one, a humiliating one, but a favor nonetheless. Better to find out who he was before signing legal documents. Better a public rejection than a private life built on hesitation and what if. The anger came on day 4. Not the explosive kind, the cold kind. The kind where you start replaying the details and realize how calculated it all was. The timing, the note, the fact that he let me stand there dressed in white while he ran off like a coward. Thursday afternoon, I turned my phone back on. It lit up like a crime scene. 247 missed calls, 189 texts, 63 voicemails. I scrolled slowly. My parents, my friends, coworkers who didn't know what to say but felt obligated to say something. My bridesmaids ranging from devastated to furious. Then Owen's parents. Richard's text hit first. Regina, I am so deeply sorry for what our son did to you. There are no words. You deserve better. Please know you will always be family to us. Patricia followed with a long message, crying, apologizing, explaining how they'd begged him not to do this, how they were furious, heartbroken, and ashamed. They told me they'd cut him off financially, that they weren't speaking to him, that they couldn't understand how they'd raise someone capable of such cruelty. I believed them, but the messages that made my stomach drop came from mutual friends. Because apparently, Owen and Camilla hadn't just left together. They'd gone to the reception. Let me say that again. They showed up at the reception. My maid of honor sent me a voice memo because she didn't trust herself to type. Regina, you are not going to believe this. They walked in around 4:30 like they were guests. Camilla had changed into a sundress. Owen was in jeans and a button-down. They got in line for food like nothing happened. I replayed it twice, convinced I'd misheard. Then came the play-by-play. Richard saw them first. I've never seen a man go from calm to nuclear that fast, according to everyone who witnessed it. He started yelling across the venue about disrespect, humiliation, and shame. Patricia was crying. Camilla tried to defend herself with something about following her heart. Patricia threw a bread roll at her head. Security escorted them out, not before Camilla tried to give a speech about how everyone should be happy she'd found her true love. Someone threw a full glass of punch at her. The vibe shifted after that, from funeral to celebration. The open bar helped. My uncle gave a toast about how I'd dodged a bullet. People started dancing by 7 p.m., celebrating the fact that I'd escaped something worse than heartbreak. I sat on the edge of Jackson's deck reading these messages with my jaw clenched so tight it hurt. The audacity, the entitlement. They didn't just break my heart. They tried to hijack the event meant to celebrate our marriage and turn it into their victory lap. That's when something in me hardened permanently. The texts from Owen started coming in the next morning. I know you're angry, but please understand this wasn't about you. Camilla and I have something rare and beautiful. I couldn't ignore it. Everyone's being so cruel to us. We just want to be happy. I deleted them without responding. Then Camilla's friends started messaging me. One told me I should take the high road and wish them well. Blocked. Another told me people grow apart and I should be mature about it. Blocked. By Friday evening, I had blocked 15 people who thought they had opinions about my pain. Saturday morning, exactly 1 week after the non-wedding, I drove back to Denver. I stopped at my house long enough to shower, change, and grab my checkbook. Then I drove straight to Richard and Patricia's place. Richard opened the door and looked like he'd aged 10 years in 7 days. Regina, he said quietly, please come in. We sat in their living room while they apologized again and again, told me how ashamed they were, how confused, how devastated. Patricia dabbed her eyes with a tissue. He called us, she said, wanted us to be happy for him and Camila, said we were being cruel. Richard's voice shook. I told him he'd burned every bridge in his life for a woman who was already whispering poison in his ear. He hung up on me. They told me Owen had moved in with Camilla immediately, quit his consulting job because he said his firm was judging him, that he was delusional enough to believe this was all temporary backlash. Then Richard pulled out a check. "We're covering half the wedding costs," he said. "We know it doesn't fix anything, but we're not letting you absorb that loss." It was $22,000. I tried to refuse. He insisted. "You spent that money on our son's dream wedding," he said, "and he destroyed you in front of everyone. This is the least we can do." I took it. I needed it. And I hated that I needed it. The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in boundaries. Owen tried contacting me through every method imaginable. When he realized he was blocked everywhere, he started using his friends' phones. Blocked them too. He showed up at my house twice. I didn't answer the door. Then came the emails. Long, self-justifying manifestos about true love, passion, and how he couldn't marry me while feeling this way about someone else. He called me safe. Safe. Stable. Comfortable. As if those were insults. I read every email without emotion and deleted them. My friends wanted revenge, slash tires, ruin reputations, wage war. I told them no, not because I was noble, because I was curious. Curious to see how a relationship built on fantasy would survive reality. I didn't have to wait long. 3 weeks after the non-wedding, the updates started coming in, and that's when the fairy tale began to rot. The fairy tale didn't just crack, it collapsed. 3 weeks after the non-wedding, people started sending me updates without me asking. At first, I ignored them. I wasn't rooting for Owen and Camilla to fail, but I also wasn't invested in pretending their rare and beautiful love was anything more than adrenaline and ego. Reality arrived fast. Owen's consulting job, the one he'd moved mountains to look impressive in, fell through. The project he'd relocated for was quietly eliminated during budget cuts. No backup plan, no safety net. Camilla wasn't working either. She'd quit her job mid-year because she said people were judging her. Turns out when you abandon responsibilities in May, industries don't line up to rehire you. 2 unemployed adults, 1 overpriced apartment, rent that didn't care about soulmates. Then the truth detonated. Camilla found out Owen hadn't come to Denver single. His ex-girlfriend from California, who thought they were on a break, commented on one of his overcompensating social media posts. "Funny how you told me we were soulmates and you just needed time to get your life together." Screenshots followed. Timelines aligned. Patterns emerged. Owen had a script. Same phrases, same poetic lines, same "you're my destiny" speech. Copy-pasted from relationship to relationship. He found women who were stable, convinced them they were settling, then lit the match and walked away once the fire burned too hot. Camilla confronted him. He lied. Then she looked through his phone while he slept. Dating apps. Messages to other women, including one of my former bridesmaids. That was the end. Police were called after neighbors reported screaming. Owen left that night with a backpack and excuses, abandoning Camilla in an apartment she couldn't afford, with no job, no savings, and no allies. And then, finally, he tried to come back to me. The call came from an unknown number while I was at the gym, mid-set, headphones on. I almost didn't answer. "Regina, it's me." I didn't speak. "I know I don't deserve it," he rushed. "But I've lost everything. Camilla used me. I made the biggest mistake of my life." I closed my eyes. This wasn't remorse. This was gravity. "You humiliated me in front of everyone I love," I said calmly. "You left me at the altar with a post-it note. You showed up to the reception like a guest. And now you want comfort?" "I just need someone who understands," he whispered. "I did understand," I replied. "You didn't want safety. You wanted chaos. Congratulations. You got it." Silence. Is there any chance?" he asked. "No." I hung up, blocked the number, felt nothing but relief. Because by then, my life had already moved forward. I threw myself into work, took on a massive infrastructure project. Long hours, real responsibility, no room for self-pity. I started lifting at 5 a.m., not to look better, but to exhaust the thoughts that still tried to sneak in. On weekends, I rode trails until my lungs burned. And somewhere between sweat and dirt and silence, I met Ethan. No fireworks, no speeches about destiny. Just a man who showed up, who didn't flinch at honesty, who didn't confuse intensity with intimacy. We took things slow, no pressure, no promises carved into stone before they'd earned their weight. It felt sane. A year passed. I got promoted, bought a new truck because I wanted it, moved into a place that felt like a future, not a stage set. "Owen?" Last I heard, he'd left Colorado. Camilla moved back in with her parents. Their great love dissolved into silence and blocked numbers. One afternoon, I ran into Patricia at the grocery store. She hugged me like time hadn't passed. "He asks about you sometimes," she said quietly. "Wants to know if you're happy." "I am," I answered. And I meant it. Because happiness, I learned, isn't about being chosen once in front of an audience. It's about being chosen every day, quietly, consistently, without spectacle. Owen wanted passion that burned everything down. I wanted a life that stood, and in the end, that made all the difference.